presents to you Honest Talk.
Hi folks, today Mr. Deepak Anand Krishnan is going to join us for talk. Mr. Deepak has 17 years of leadership experience across industries including telecom, edtech and healthcare in a variety of leadership roles. He has balanced experience of working for large multinational as well as scaling up startups to success. He is currently the Chief Customer Officer at Stones 2 Milestones, an edtech company which is into online English learning space. Deepak also had successful career runs with Johnson & Johnson, XSEED, Tyco Electronics, Bharti Airtel and Reliance Communication. He has lived across India including Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad and Kolkata. So, let's begin our talk with Mr. Deepak Anand Krishnan.
So first of all, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much, sir, for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us. We are extremely very happy to have you for today's talk.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you so much, sir. It's our pleasure too. So, sir, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is scaling your business. Sir, as you are you into this field for many long years, so sir, my first question to you, kindly elaborate and tell our viewers what is scaling in business and how it is different from growth.
So growth usually is something that is related to a number or a revenue or a subscriber that we usually look at. Scaling comes when not only when the business grows, but it's also about as an organization growing, which is right from are you going different geographies? Are you having different types of people joining you? Where is your brand today? Where is the brand going to go? How are you making a brand larger? So, and in terms of even in terms of your target audience, are you scaling up to go to different places? So I think scaling up is not only the going outside and doing it, but it's a lot more even to do with inside, and that's what I would call the difference large between scaling up as well as growth.
All right, sir. I think those viewers who are watching this session, of course, they are going to learn many things from it. Sir, my next question to you, what are the steps to consider in scaling up of your business?
So what we usually do when we have to grow is we try to always see what's in best for us, and then we try to keep making things, like for example, what is the easiest product that I can get into the market? What is the easiest, fix that I can do, which will give me extra revenue? Where is the team that I need to hire, which will give me the highest amount of growth? So this is what we usually think about. When you have to scale up, the scaling up is actually thinking not from inside, but from outside inside, So you'll have to first start with the customer. What is the customer looking out for that's a product that's not available, but he is ready to take it from you. Okay. And that's the number one way that you look at it from when you look at this part of the business. You don't look at it from inside saying, this is are the 10 products that I can offer. Tell me what do you want? It usually starts from saying that this is what the customer needs. Do I have it? Or if I don't have it, let me make it. So that's the fundamental mindset change that needs to come from within.
All right, sir. Sir, my next question to you is, sir, what do you believe, being an angel investor, sir, what do you think, what are the most common and biggest mistake companies make when they scaling their business?
So, couple of things, right? Number one, not getting the domain and the fundamentals right. You first need to understand whatever product that one is making. Is it a product of convenience, or are you making something which is fundamentally strong, where the domain knowledge is very, very strong within the organization? Okay, so that's very important. So as an angel investor, the first thing I see is the fundamental domain knowledge within the organization extremely strong or not. Okay. The second thing that I told you, what I just mentioned some time back, is what is the solution that you're trying to get into it? Is the solution being bought into the market because of the fact that there is, I have a solution and hence I want to take it out? Or is it more from a standpoint, there are a lot of people, there is a problem that I've identified which is not getting solved, and that's something there could be a need in the market and I want to fulfill that need. So that's the second thing that I usually look out for. And the last part of it is the passion that the team carries in terms of ensuring the mission gets accomplished or not.
All right, sir. Sir, my next question to you: what do you believe? What are the means right ways or right? We can say a right way or right path while scaling up your business.
Many things. Number one, no shortcuts. Number two, brand gets built over a period of time. So when you're scaling up, you have to build a story around your brand. You have to build a story around your company, which doesn't get built overnight. So you will have to have the persistence, patience, and be with it. And the third, which is talent. So you need to have top talent with you, solid people with you. You can't do it alone. You need good people, and you'll have to hold them. Not only hiring them, but even nurturing them and retaining them and keeping them with you and taking them along with you is super critical. And I think most of the places, if you get the story right, if you get your brand right, if you're trying to solve the problem which is there in place, which is actually a big problem, you have the right talent, which means you have the domain knowledge, you have the right people who are passionate enough to go and get that going. I think it's quite easy to win them.
All right, sir. Again, it was a really very insightful answer from your side. Sir, my next question to you, as we have seen, startup business is always at a high risk. Not even a big startup could have avoided certain challenges that their growing business had faced at the initial and infant stages. So, sir, the question is, what are the biggest challenges startup face during their growing ages?
So there are many things. In fact, number one challenge is the people. You don't get top talent like the way top companies can attract talent. So, and you need good people to build anything. So that's the large challenge. I think fundamentally every startup has a great idea, or many startups in fact have good ideas, but they're not able to get the right funding at the right time, and hence a struggle for money always exists in every startup. And the large part of it is many startups, though they are startups, actually do not have the agility in them to completely change or transform themselves to face the new world. And I think these are the three large reasons I fundamentally feel. And the fourth is what I just mentioned right sometime back, including shortcuts. If the fundamental of a startup being built is to make money, and I want to make money, make $1 billion valuation and exit out, then mostly those kind of startups do not go long. But if you're building it to solve a fundamental problem, and the bunch of people whom you have along with you are actually there to solve the problem passionately, then so money is important. You need to make money, but money cannot be the goal.
All right, sir. Sir, my next question to you, what we have seen is in some cases, we have seen students, those who are studying their colleges, they start their venture and many times they also get success. But in some cases, people believe that let's work for an organization and let's take some experience, then we will start our own startup. So, sir, how do you look at which one is the best choice?
There is nothing which is right, wrong. I think you can start up something even at the age of 70. You can start up something at the age of 15. There is no age for putting up your own company and starting up something. Like I said, startup is a mindset, and both of them have equal stuff, right? I mean, people who are starting fresh out of college and doing well, they have their own strengths, they have agility, their ability, they don't know what is right, what is wrong. So hence, ability to take risks are extremely high. There is no fear of failure. You're a lot more younger. You can always go back and do something. So all of those things are advantages. People who have done work and then they start. So obviously they've established, they understand a little bit of process. They also understand the fact that, if things don't work well, I might go back again to my corporate world. And you've learned a lot. So corporate world trains you a lot better, right? I mean, all the large organizations have very, very good training systems for you to understand multiple things well. So it has both advantages, both sides. I don't think there's any age for you to start up. Anytime you can start up.
Sir, my next question to you, Government of India has set up many incubation center all around the country and also in some colleges also. So, sir, how do you look at it?
It's a great thing. In fact, it's amazing that Government of India is doing this. There are some countries around the world where the government themselves act like a venture capital. So they fund companies, and then if the companies do well, they actually take stake in them, and then it becomes a government organization. I think that's the way to go, and government support in building up the startup ecosystem in the country, where we already have great talent and great thought process and great ideas, and on top of everything else, great high population for us to self consume most of the things. If there's a government support coming in a way, that's a great thing to do.
Sir, being an angel investor, sir, what do you believe? How difficult it is to raise funding?
Very difficult. Very, very difficult.
Sir, could you please a little explain what happens? Means someone get raise good funding, and whereas other person failed in this. What actually happens?
So I think the biggest thing is the expectation, right? I mean, it's like a parent. For every parent, their child is the best child in the world. Okay? Their baby is the best baby in the world, right? So that's the similar thing for any founder, right? For them, their company is the best company in the world. What they are making is the best solution in the world. What they're doing is something. I mean, even though there could be 10 competitors being there in the market, most of them would feel that there's no competition to what we are doing. So everybody. So the whole fundamental thing is about that part of it, starting from saying that the expectation, saying that what we're building is a great one, right? So, but when you look at it from the eyes of an investor, that's not the way they look at it, right? I mean, they are there in the market, they see 150 companies like this. Their ability to see through what you can see through is actually is way more higher. So in fact, I would say every time that people go and then they get rejected and they're not able to raise funds, it's actually a learning, because you're not getting rejected, but someone's saying that what you're doing is not great. So can you make it into something which is better, unique? Can you change the model? So that's the feedback that's coming into you, right? So, and hence whenever you come back, you actually have to again sit together as a team and change it or make it into something which is unique. So a lot of time goes, right? And every time you change something, there is money involved, people involved, time involved. So, and hence that much time is again spent in actually taking a product into the market. So, and there are too many of them, right? I mean, today there are so many people who are trying to do so many things, but so it's very, very difficult.
Sir, all right. My next question to you, sir, as this pandemic is, we are still suffering from it. Many organizations are also laying their employees. So, sir, what do you believe? Will it make people more towards they will take it towards a startup or something like that?
So if people are doing it, that's the wrong thing to do. You don't enter startups. I mean, see, right now there could be a set of people who are trying to just pick up jobs only basis the fact that I have lost my job and hence whatever comes my way, let me take it, right? I mean, if you're making a move of that type, then obviously some of them are forced to do it because of family situations. But I don't think so that's the right thing to do, and that should not be the reason for you to come into startup. I think the reason to join any startup should be fundamentally you're passionate about the space and you want to build up something there, and that's what one should do, and one should come on board. Because whether there is pandemic or whether there is no pandemic, inside a startup there are a couple of things that are very, very positive, right? It's a very growth mindset thing. The agility is very high, action is extremely high. Growth is faster for younger talent. What you could achieve in a large corporate in 3 years' time, you would have achieved over here in 8 months' time. So those are the things that are advantage, and that has not changed whether it is pandemic or non-pandemic. And if that's the reason that's pushing you to look at startups, one should look at startup. But if you're more into a space where you want to get into a space where there is stability, where things are working in the right direction, where you don't have changes happening every day in what you're doing, your work is kind of sorted out stuff, then they should not just come and park yourself in startup, because whether it's a startup or a non-startup, what the difference is the mindset, nothing else changes. So if you have the mindset, I think you should jump the fence.
Again, sir, it was really a very balanced and wonderful advice from your side. I think those who are watching this session, of course, they are going to learn from it. Sir, my next question to you: what we can expect after post-pandemic? How will be the types of startup, and what will be the type of corporate world?
So there are multiple things that works, but usually in a situation like this that happens, the top 1% will have to bull the bottom 10%. Okay, and that's what will happen, right? I mean, the top 1% of the organizations which are doing well or which can sustain, I'm talking about the large corporates. Whenever something like this has happened, the gap has always gone more, right? If you look at the pandemic, there are people who have become richer and there are people who have become more poorer, right? So the gap needs to again get narrowed, right? And that usually happens when the top people pull up the economy from the bottom people, right? So this could mean some startups getting acquired by large corporates. This could mean that the organizations, some of them completely taking a different mode and going. So I think right now it's very difficult to point finger out and say this is what is going to grow, this economy will grow, that economy won't grow. But for sure, there will be some economies which will take this and grow. Some of them will continue to wait and get pulled up. So if you're a smart person right now, you should actually be looking at the wave. Which are those waves which will get pulled up? Which are those waves which will pull? So if you're either a part of a wave that is going to pull some people, or if you're part of a wave which is getting pulled by some people, then it's good. So that's the way I will actually tell for people in the career space of it. Overall, as an economy, obviously many things will change. I mean, people are changing jobs today for the first time without even meeting human beings. So a lot is happening online. We're getting used to the fact that how to get your time management going. So some of those things are good to have. Your learning skills have gone up very, very high because of the Zoom meetings, because you listen to people, you allow people to talk. So those are all good stuff. So I mean, how things will change in the economic part, I'm pretty sure, like what I told you. But how it will change for us, it's already changed. I think what has changed in the last 6 months has already changed. People have all adapted to the new world.
Sir, as we in this pandemic, we have seen suddenly all the things start turning into digital world. It is rather we can consider it is a new type of digital revolution in itself. So, sir, my next question to you, sir, how much important is a digital presence of a brand? Because nowadays we have seen that our life is much influenced by all our digital platforms. So, sir, what would you like to say on it?
So it's very important from a brand presence perspective to be digitally there. There's no doubt on that. It also depends upon which kind of product are you that you want to be digitally placed. If I'm a very hardcore manufacturing B2B product, I don't need to be there in the digital presence very high. But if I'm in the space of a consumer product, then I need to be there in the space of digital. Otherwise, I'm going to be lost out. But having said the same thing, the product itself being a digital product, okay, and the technology part of it, my take on even consumers or anybody is, see, tech is a tool, okay, and if you get a tech as an asset, then it's not going to be of any use. Technology has to be used, and that's when it gets its maximum efficiency, productivity. You get your bang for buck. If technology is going to be an asset sitting, then it's not going to be of any use, right? I mean, months back, there were places where people were buying a lot of technology to just say we have a technology. Whether the technology gets used or not, no one's seeing, right? So if the technology is not getting used and if it's an asset, then it's a very short-term curve. But if the technology is a tool that's getting used, then that's where you will see the spike coming up. So any consumer today who's buying a tech today, if he or she is buying it as a tool, I think the company which is making the tool is a benefit. But if it's being bought for an asset reason, then I think it won't last for longer. The life cycle will be very short.
All right, sir. Again, it is really a very great advice from your side. Sir, my next question to you, or rather say it is the last question of this session because I don't want to take you much time. Sir, the question is, as this pandemic, many startup finding this time is very challenging. So, sir, what will be your advice to them?
So see, if it's a startup, then I don't think their agility will be a problem. They'll be super quick and agile to figure out ways to come out new things. The second part of it for them is to even find a business model and get it going won't be that difficult, because that's usually not difficult for startup. I think the situation right now where startups at various, irrespective of domain, will struggle for are number one, cash, and number two, talent. Okay, and talent, to be very frank, also linked to cash to some extent, right? But that's where they need to be extremely careful about how they are spending the money that's already there with them. Be extremely careful. Find those exactly smaller spots, which are those smaller wins that will keep the cash flow within the organization going. But at the same time, build what you need to build without losing the focus on your domain and the problem that you actually started this company for, right? So some of those problems may go away because of pandemic, but I'm pretty sure many of the problems that exist because of which your startup was made will not go away, which means that solution is needed. What may change is how you will deliver that solution is going to change, and that's where maybe the focus would be needed on terms of that. And save your cash. Cash is king, so keep that careful.
Again, sir, it was really very wonderful message from your side, and also it was a very wonderful interaction with you. Thank you so much for joining and giving you these all advices. We look forward to conduct more session with you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Harsh. Pleasure's all mine. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please like,